now I can't turn my camera off anytime I need to even just pick my nose or something because of your overlay. So I'll just like throw a fucking cloth on it.
I forgot to mute you. You're talking over the music video. Okay, so maybe not the best.
Daryl, we don't hear you.
Okay, let me see. Oh, so there we go.
Do over.
Oh. Okay, so no. There we go.
Now we can hear you. We might need a do over.
No, we're fine. We're fine. Whatever. Let's just keep going.
Oh,
This would not be Goblin Town without technical difficulties, okay? This is...
always.
Okay, well, there you have it. Okay. Okay, so... Alright, so I'm tweeting this out again, so... Okay, so... Here we are. We have our illustrious and fantastic archaeologists here to help me not make a complete fool of myself. Alright. Ellie Croft, based in Las Vegas. Short Round, based in Washington. Yeah. And here, Harusaki Emon de gozaimasu, based in Southern California. Okay. Okay, so we're going to discuss a little bit of Goblin Town here as much as we can. Normally, Sarah from Archaeological Fantasy does this, but I guess I'll do it, or I'll let you do whatever. So, I'll leave the floor open to either of you to sort of pick the more specific topic. Otherwise, I'm going to head toward the dungeon and like start to pull out things for you to discuss.
Okay.
So.
I mean, we're looking at one particularly interesting artifact right now that we could discuss.
Oh yes, that's true.
Okay.
So Daryl is the effigy, if that's what you're calling it now. Was that actually mimic the whole time, or?
No. That I think that's Short Round's sort of like misinterpretation. No, it's just a regular thing.
Oh, okay.
It's so. But I really like that though. I think that's the method acting that I'm sort of going through with like the map.
It.
What? Sorry.
Well, it's creepy thinking about it, like looking at those eyes that might have been a mimic the entire time hiding in the skull, and we're just poking at this artifact, like, what is it? What is it? And then the eyes are like twitching a little bit, like, ah.
Yeah, but like I think you were talking about like in Discord chat, like everything's gonna be mimicked from now on.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Entire dungeon's a mimic. We're just going through it.
a giant mimic, like oh no.
Yeah.
It's like this is not a cave.
Yeah.
Oh god.
We have to have Empire Strikes Back escape.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
For the con, we leave the dungeon.
If you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess as we're looking at it, I'll just explain some of my inspirations for it. Like, cause it's a skull, and you put sort of artificial eyes in it. like a lot of cultures, or we've had cultures, kind of like pull up bones and like just keep like the skull and redecorate it. I think in Peru, was it Peru or Ecuador that does that? They actually sort of redecorate the skull. They'll put like cigarettes in like their ancestors' like skull, like because they like cigarettes or whatever. Um, but I think I actually got a little bit of inspiration from, was it Göbekli Tepe? How they would put clay, or I think they were doing, because I think this was on an archaeological fantasies episode. I forget what was the name of the guy. Oh, I'm terrible. But talking about how they would take some of the skulls and then redecorate it, like redo the person's face in
Hmm.
it with clay. I don't know if you're familiar with any of that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard of that before. But I can't remember like the culture. Because I know that there's also one that I feel like is one of the South Pacific Islands, maybe, where like once a year they bring out their dead family members and like they dress them in the clothes that were theirs, and they have them
Yeah.
like sitting out and hanging
Kind of
out
like
in
the
the
mummified.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
actually,
what the cigarette thing that Daryl brought up. That's I think that's the same culture, if I remember correctly.
Okay, could be, yeah.
partially, actually, we talked about this before, and again, terrible because I actually was the one that looked it up, and Michael actually did the. Let me see if I'm gonna go to Discord and see if I can type this in again. Like so, see if I can actually start to look up the name of it because it's actually in the Discord somewhere.
Forget we're all in front of computers and there's Google.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can. Uh,
In Indonesia, an Indonesian island,
yeah.
the one you're talking about, Ellie.
Okay.
Oh, see if I can take up the. I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, I think it's in my channel, like way the heck back there. Oh, Toraja. Toraja people of Indonesia. Um, so if you look up Toraja in the Discord channel, Toraj, that was the original inspiration for how the goblins handle their dead in Goblin Town specifically. But for this one, that like the overall look of it, I think I was thinking of something from Ecuador. Was it Ecuador?
In Goblin Town, you mean like the summer festival where there are all those, I think they're heads, or were they entire bodies like at that bonfire area?
Well, I mentioned this like one time that like when you visited the mayor in the town hall, and then on your way out you saw some statues. There's like some statues in near the entrance, and some of you were like hiding next to it. And one of you, it might have been a theory and Grata who like actually like looked at it, like investigated it, and then realized it wasn't a statue, it was like an actual goblin mummified and then like preserved. You know, imagine your aunt
Yeah.
or uncle just kind of like, which is
Oh,
kind of
that's
the
right.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
remember
remember that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was off trying to steal a pig during that time though.
So
Daryl's like, we're never bringing you guys back to Goblin Town again.
you can make it back there. It's not. Oh, is it Bolivia? Okay, yeah, I messed up. Okay, wrong South American country. Yeah, yeah, it's Bolivia. Okay, I'm looking at one from Bolivia. All right. So, but the thing is though, this particular skull that I'm thinking of was actually not supposed to be like that. It was just I just did that for the eyes to freak you out, I guess.
Worked.
Succeeded. Succeeded. Yeah.
Because so like it's a little bit harder to see, but actually like the fabrics that are tied around the skull, that inspiration actually comes from Japan. So you can go to like a temple or a shrine and get like your fortune told, and they have different ways of doing it. But what you get like a little fortune, kind of like a fortune cookie, but it's not that small. It's kind of larger. And the idea of it is that if you get like bad luck, you take the paper and you tie it to like a fence that they
Sure.
have already.
Or a branch, or yeah.
Yeah, so that you sort of leave it behind. Or you can like buy like a wooden plaque and you write a wish on the wooden plaque and then you hang it on like a fence or something right there. Um, same idea, so that the culture here is sort of making like, okay, here's a guardian, and we're gonna to sort of tell it what we want out of it, the sort of hopes and dreams or wishes that we have. We'll tie our little wishes to it on top of it here.
Yeah.
So
The omikuji, right?
yeah,
Omikuji. Yeah.
so I'm sort of mixing a bunch of things here.
Is there any lore for that cloth that gets tied onto the back of this particular effigy?
I haven't sort of made the idea, but I'm trying to leave little breadcrumbs for you of a different goblin culture. Right, so there's the one that's in the city, there's the one that's in the war horde, and there's another one here that you're now getting sort of like little sprinkles and bits of. Okay.
It's really interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I'm trying. Right, because so much of like goblins and orcs is just so reduced down to they raid and pillage, and it's just like there's got to be more to it than that.
Yeah. Yeah. My whole backstory is raiding and pillaging.
It's fine. It's fine. Like, okay, I mean, lots of people have raided and pillaged throughout our history, everyone's history.
Mhm.
It's- uh,
Yup.
I mean, shoot, pirates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pirates, Vikings,
Vikings, yeah.
you know,
I
one
mean,
culture invading another culture. It's generally what happens.
I was about to say, like, do you want to like invade Goblin Town and like steal the facade off like the bank? Just show how civilized you are by taking a piece of civilization for yourself to keep.
Pig.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I don't have. I'll see. I don't. Do you remember the bank? I was drawing the bank a while back.
I don't think have we seen that?
I've posted it on
I
Twitter, but I
thought
haven't
that he
actually.
did, because didn't we? We were recruiting people for security for the festival. I thought we
Yeah.
recruited 2 hobgoblins that were the guards outside the bank, but I don't remember if you actually drew the bank or not.
I started it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna like I'll save it. So it's very much kind of in a rough stage right here, but let's see here. Bank rough. Yeah. I'm sorry to like I'm forcing you into this because I think what both of you are prehistory, do lithics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
When are you gonna put Clovis points in the game?
Oh, I shoot because very specifically, I have a very specific use for that, but I don't know if we'll get to it. That I think might be like a year away. In our time, a year away. Um, because the setup, like the setup, there's a certain particular setup for it, and if we ever get to it, it will set it'll set the Discord on fire. Okay, like,
Oh, I'm excited.
but
Okay,
I'm
will it set it on fire in a good way or a bad way?
Clovis and
Uh,
beyond.
nice.
I just love the idea that there are Clovis firsters out there. It just tickles my fancy.
Okay. So I'm just gonna like paste it on the picture. I don't. I'm gonna put the picture on the. Do I want to put it on Roll20? I'll just shove it into the stream. I'm just gonna put it right on top of everything because I'm funny like that. Da. So All right. Okay, so that's it. That's what I have of the bank.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember seeing this picture before, so.
Is that a mural there, or like painted onto the walls above the doors and next to
Yeah.
the doors?
So that's also a little bit of the joke is because right, the goblins are trying to imitate the this sort of culture and civilization in the town, so they make a bank. But so that's why it looks like a bank. It looks kind of Romanesque in its design. But of course, they're goblins, so they're gonna do their goblin like art on like right on top of it, just like staple it right on top. So that's why they have like cave painting esque, like very very like what is it like French cave, European cave paintings.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What's that on the top in the corner on the right?
Uh
Like above
oh
that,
oh that's graffiti.
that a goblin like peeking out, or
Uh
it looks
so
like a goblin peeking out.
so that is actually I probably should have made a bigger resolution, but like that is actually making a reference to Kilroy.
That's what I thought, yeah.
So that's the World War II like graffiti.
Couldn't remember his name.
Kilroy was here, and then they did like
Yeah.
the little thing of a guy peeking over.
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
like how there's a wheelchair ramp.
Oh yeah, I forgot I put
Medieval
that in there.
wheelchair ramp.
Those goblins, man, they're all about accessibility.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Very inclusive.
Well, cause like the wheelwright guy, I made sure to do that wheelwright guy. He has a
Right, one of the guild leaders, right?
yeah, one of the guild leaders has a very obvious like disability. Let me see if I can pull him up. You see, and since he's a cartwright, like he has wheels. Okay, there we go. This one has a really high resolution, so I'm gonna like fix it. There we go.
He's able to go to the bank.
Yeah, exactly. I
I
don't know.
just love that it's not one wheel, it's two.
Like a bicycle for his
Bicycle
leg.
for his knee. Yeah,
Yeah.
a knee-sicle.
Haven't you seen like people on that, like the people who have like a broken leg but don't have like they don't use like the crutches or the wheelchair? They have like
yeah,
a, like
they
a
have like
scooter
a
thing.
little scooter thing, yeah.
Have we ever we've never interacted with this guy, right?
No.
He says so disappointedly.
Had to get you all out of there before you stole the goddamn pig.
I still gotta work on that pig's like voice though. I have
Telling you,
plans.
James Earl Jones, it's gotta be this deep booming voice.
I don't know if I could go that low though.
What you do is you
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 bring
get
in a
yourself
voice actor.
changer.
Or that, yeah, or you bring in a special voice actor specifically for Daintyfoot.
Oh, like then I'm counting on I'm counting on Ellie to do that because she's the one that hooks us up with the voice actors from the Lara Croft or the Tomb
Oh
Raider
yeah,
community.
we could, yeah.
Oh yeah, I could ask Earl. I'm like, will you be the voice of Daintyfoot?
I'll have to draw like more concept art so you can like feel the character. What's the motivation for this pig?
You have to
Pig
have
in
a
a hat.
Daintyfoot study session.
Yeah.
We'll have to have
Oh
like
my
a
god.
what is it, a reading session where we're all like sit around with like the scripts.
I mean, honestly, if he's free, he probably would do it. Oh, that's what I was gonna tell you, Anna.
Yeah.
Do you have Netflix, right?
I do.
The Daryl will like this too. I don't know if Daryl's watched it yet, but what is it? Trece.
Ah,
It's a
yeah.
Filipino
Yeah, I saw
anime
that.
on-
Yeah.
Earl actually is voices two of the characters in that show.
Like
Which
main characters, people get
characters?
slaughtered. Like,
No, he's I think it's like the last 2 episodes.
oh,
He does the voice of one of um the spirit gods, whatever they are. And then he does the voice of like the
Like a
general
general?
guy.
Yeah. That's really cool. I know I saw on Twitch for a little bit that he was doing a special where he was looking into the Filipino, like the old ancient alphabet, because it's like
Mhm.
around all of the like magical circular magical circular things. Like they have like all of the old alphabet around it. So Earl was like,
Uh,
I think he was doing a Twitch stream dedicated to kind of like recreating the alphabet and then talking about the alphabet. And
yeah,
I've
he
always
did
been interested
one
in
where he
that.
was where he was talking about like the mythology of the show and everything like that too, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And that alphabet is called it starts with a B. Daryl, do you know it?
I don't know it, but if you give me like 30 seconds, I will literally stand up, go get a Tagalog English dictionary that has it in it that I haven't picked up in like years. And it was so funny because
Yeah.
I would like go up to like Filipinos, like, did you know there's a Filipino alphabet? I'm like, yeah, A, B, C, D. Like, no.
Mm-mm. Yeah. No, it's called a Baybayin. And I remember talking to my mom about it when I learned about it. There's like a documentary that just caught my eye on YouTube just by chance. And then I was like, "Mom, did you know that, you've got like an alphabet, like an actual alphabet, kind of looks like Indonesian or like
I maybe?
other yeah, yeah, or like Thai." And then I showed it to her and she's like, "This isn't real. I've never seen this in my life." And then yeah, it's and like looking into it, it's really cool because every single letter was based on like a shell, like shell formations, that the alphabet was inspired by shells on the beach.
That's cool.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that reminds me. I don't know if it's true. Who was I looking at? Was it here? No, no, no. I think it's a different Discord server that I was on. But okay, so you know Dogu. So this is Japanese again. Um, the weeb that I am. Haha. But if you,
The Jumwon statue,
yeah,
right?
Jomon. I'd have to pull it up, but I'll write it in the chat. Uh, so, but they're really famous clay figurine statues,
Mhm.
and everyone is like thinking like, what's up with the eyes? Why is it shaped like this? Is this supposed to be like a fertility doll, right? Because it
Aliens.
has a very very exaggerated bell
Aliens.
hourglass shape.
Yeah.
Um, but one professor, I can't remember their name, but their hypothesis is that they're actually personifications, anthropomorphized versions of nuts. So if you have like a chestnut or like an acorn and you fit it, and it actually sort of matches their faces. Um,
Yeah.
Oh.
so it's very, very
Interesting.
Anpanman-esque.
Yeah, yeah. The bread man.
Yeah. So I'm just like, oh wow, history repeats itself.
I've always loved the look of these clay figurines, and it's funny too because those who play Animal Crossing, they've probably seen it before. It goes in the museum, and if you get a fake Dogu statue or figurine, a Dogu figurine, it's an alien. And then I think if you look at it, or like if you go into your house and you put it in your house, and if you go into your house past like 6 p.m. or 8 p.m., the eyes turn either like glowing red or glowing blue, and it levitates like an alien.
That's
And
interesting.
so like whenever I talk to people about the Dogu figurine, and then I show a picture of it, they're like, "Oh, that's the weird, spooky little alien thing in my Animal Crossing house." And it's like, yeah, sure.
Little bit of archeo gaming and Animal Crossing.
Hey, why not?
Why is there no Bigfoot in Animal Crossing? Missed opportunity.
Yep, definitely.
Hey man, that's true. Why is there no Bigfoot in Animal Crossing? That's a crime. It's a shame.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
Mothman, or all the greats.
I would love
Yeah.
Mothman. Oh, good golly. I'm gonna put Mothman in this campaign if you let me.
Oh shit! If we let you, you just do it.
It's gonna be a mimic.
Oh.
Damn it.
Um, I really, really am like I'm really trying to think hard about the next sort of like trope or whatever thing to go over, right? Because we like the first one was like someone's an imposter, right? That was
Mm.
the first session for the con like a year ago. Someone's an imposter. Then you had to go find basically a haunted graveyard, right? Like you had to go up against like sort of ghosts kind of thing and Bigfoot. And now we're in like a dungeon with, I'll be honest, ancient aliens. Okay. Which is like, I feel so bad for Michael because he was just like, there's got to be purpose here. There's got to be some purpose. And like for me, like literally, my design for the aliens in this was just like, okay, they're aliens. That means it's not going to make sense. And like I'm just like, okay, so that means it's going to be like geometry, but then slightly askew because they don't care, or like that's what they want. They want it to be askew. Like that's their aesthetic. And like Michael kept going like, there's got to be something here. Like, oh, sorry, man.
You set them up. You were also inspired by Petra, right? And then
Oh yeah.
aliens.
Well, that's again, that's always the thing that I always try to spin it in a weird way. So hint, hint, wink, wink. The front of the map is Petra because I looked up
Right.
maps of Petra
The treasurer, yeah.
yeah, to get it to look like. So wink, wink, hint, hint. Right? If you could see me winking at you, you can look up a map. You can look up a map of El Cosne or Cosna,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
treasury, and you can actually sort of cheat that way to figure out where some stuff is.
But then if we
Yeah.
look any farther than that, no.
Well, the
Like,
thing
is it a treasury? No.
well, that's the thing though. The treasury itself is actually really small. It only has a few rooms. It's
Yeah.
very very limited in size and scope. But the facade of it is very very famous. So that's why my flip is I'm like forget the facade. I'm gonna do the rooms inside.
I think after a year of doing Goblin Town, we all know at this point that if we see like projectile points or something, then we're like, oh God, what could this be? And then it's like paperweights. Of course. They were designed to be paperweights. That's their origin story. That is the Goblin Town origin. Paperweights.
Yeah. Or you get the dig site that we looked at where you have a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a point shoved into it, and you're just
Yeah.
like, why?
What? Like, yeah. We find like a lithic scatter, and it's like, what could this be? What could this be? Oh, it was just a bunch of salarymen out in the woods, and they needed a paperweight, so they were napping a paperweight to go on to their documents as they all sat on fallen, deadfall on typewriters and shit, and of course.
Yeah.
This is the funny thing. This is what I'm kind of sweating because that is going to be kind of the joke. It's going to be a joke like that when you finally get to napping flakes. When you finally get to
Yeah.
it, it's going to be a joke like that, but it's going to be much much better, 100 times better.
It better be. Oh man. What about the cursed objects? Can we talk about those?
Okay.
Because I'm still stumped by them.
Okay. So let me like see, so actually pull them up. Let me zoom out. There, like we're way too zoomed in for this. Okay, so I'm trying to get this to look nice for the stream here. Okay, well, I mean, we'll just go with that. So yeah, like, yeah, they're cursed objects, and again, they're supposed to reflect that ancient alien like aesthetic. That's why they're so bizarre looking, right? Um, but again, like, like generally speaking, when people sort of design things, they like things to be sort of symmetrical, or they like things to have a certain pattern to it, right? You repeat the pattern. Me to freak you out, I purposely break it to have a broken pattern so that it's not symmetrical. Like the mirror, and it is a mirror. are going around it, it's asymmetrical. It's got like funny notches in it.
Yeah.
And like the spirals, like the
Those
arms going around
3
it.
corner notches, right?
Yeah, yeah. And again, like the spirals or the arms that are coming out are 7. So like, if it's a prime number, so again, like it's kind of like try to screw with like trying to find some sort of pattern with it.
So Dagmar didn't seem to care that it was 7, and I think I did. I drew 9. It's just like whatever.
It's fine. Dagmar isn't very good at perception. It's okay.
It's just like, I mean, it looks similar, I guess. And then I'm trying to find it because I'm pretty sure, like, I as the archaeologist was trying to find a trend with these artifacts and try to figure out the context, the provenience of how far away they were found, if they were found together as a cluster, if there's any like similar, cultural traits in any of these items. And I think Dagmar the idiot wrote down, they all remind me of the beach.
Very good. That's very good.
And I don't-
That's
Very,
good.
I don't think
yeah.
But that's just one. That's literally just one. And it's like, what were you thinking there?
The mirror looks like a sand dollar. Come on.
Yeah, but then the ring throws me off because that's kind of foresty. And then as Dagmar said, this looks like an eyeglass. I don't know what that could be.
Like a monocle.
Yeah.
Actually, do think of it like a monocle because it's about the size and shape of a monocle would be. So kind of like the way a monocle's like this big or whatever, and you look through it. It is kind of sort of like shaped like that, or like if you blow bubbles, a bubble wand, kind of like that.
Oh,
That's
God,
sort
is
of
it a bubble wand?
no.
Bubble wand. Perfect.
No, but really, though, like I don't trust you.
That you know what you've inspired since this is a collaborative narrative telling, storytelling, or narrative, collaborative
do this.
narrative.
I'll do this.
The soap makers now will have bubbles. They'll have bubble solution, and they'll have bubble wands for you in the next
Perfect.
festival.
Yes.
We'll never go back. We'll never go back. Another thing I wrote down about these objects is they all seemed kind of like trinkets or objects that are vanity oriented. Because I know that's a pendant, that's a ring, that's a mirror. Don't know what the hell that is, but 3 out of 4 vanity, kind of like vanity oriented objects. That was something that I thought of.
Oh. Also, just one more thing. The
Yeah.
flower petals one. If I don't know if I'm like doing a weird like rewriting my memories kind of thing. I know when I designed it, I wanted it to look like a flower, but I think the joke was, the twist is it that it's not flower petals, it's scales.
On which one?
The ring.
Oh, the ring. Oh.
It's supposed to look like flower petals to get you to think it's for Gradal, but it's not supposed to be
Yeah.
flower petals, it's actually scales.
Oh, okay.
But was I right?
Don't
that
tell
each-
Michael.
Yeah, I know. But was I right in that each of these objects were kind of like planned out for each one of us?
I'm trying to I think
Because there's 4 of us. That's my only hint here.
I think I did make enough for all of you, but actually I wasn't quite exactly planning for each of you. I designed them specifically to make the like, again, hint wink wink, these are magical objects, they are cursed objects. So if you use them, you are going to get access to a certain power or a spell or whatever. You're going to access, right? They're going to give you a special ability because they're magical. But I designed them specifically so that to sort of kind of match either narratively or mechanically with the ability somehow. Right.
Okay.
So for the con, we all need to just immediately, once the game starts, we just start pushing at each other and it turns into a rat race, trying to pick up all of them, basically.
That's up to you, okay? Because I forgot something. I should have put an inscription at the top of the door, And that inscription has to be, it must be, death comes on swift wings. It has to be.
Oh my god. Why did we go in?
I should have done the Howard Carter thing, like, when you peeked in, like, what do you see? Wondrous treasures.
And we all died.
But my sword, like, the thing is, I've got a cursed object, I bet, and, like, my magic sword, I love that thing. I want to get a tattoo of that thing.
I'm so desperately nervous about that, because like, right, because you said for your character, oh, I'm gonna like bears, because it's like an Ainu thing. I'm like, oh, Ainu, okay,
Yeah,
so I'll look up a bunch
yeah.
of, like, things for Ainu, and then, like, start, okay, I'm just gonna, like, culture appropriate a bunch of the symbology and just, like, slap it onto the sword. And then I realized, like, you're talking later, oh, wait, this stuff means something. Like, crap, 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 crap.
'Cause, there are kind of geometric shapes and designs and patterns in Ainu culture, and they're very distinctively Ainu. But what a lot of people don't know is every shape or design that repeats itself, they all have kind of individual meanings, similar to Chinese kanji, how every kanji you look at it by itself, that character, and it has like a number of meanings or one overarching meaning. For Ainu patterns, it's the same way. And so when I looked at the sword and the top of the shoe, the boot on that corpse, I noticed some similar patterns. And then I talked to Daryl about it, and he was like, "Oh, oh."
Aww.
It was good. It was really good. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah, the hilt of it, that's a really common one. That kind of heart-shaped one there. There's a lot of pattern work on this that's just very distinctively just I know. And then the shoe. I don't know what's on his right foot. There's like something like right on the toe portion of
Oh
the
no, that's
boot.
just
I
a hole.
didn't
Rats ate a hole in his boot. That's
Okay.
it.
Oh, damn rats.
I always wondered what that was. I thought it could be like another pattern, and it's like, oh, maybe that's something meaningful right there.
Like, that's what I'm wondering about you as archaeologists, right? Because your goal is to find a pattern, right? But there's not always enough of a pattern left for you to actually figure out. So I'm just wondering, do you just keep going and drive yourself mad, or when do you give up?
No, the cutoff is when we just say ritual.
Yeah, that, or, it was probably a penis, and we've just decided to call it ritual because we don't want to offend anyone.
Like, and like, like going back to like Michael trying to find sort of like a meaning for like my weird madness. Like, to me, it's kind of like looking like at the bricks in a walkway, and I'm just like, people put the bricks down like because it looked pretty. So I'm just like,
I mean, like, that's something we do have a problem with. Like, archaeologists very much want to kind of put our own meaning
Overread.
on something. Like,
Yeah.
we see something and we want it to be what we think it is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is.
yeah,
And, a lot of times, like, for me personally, where I work, I have the benefit of working with the descendants of people that, the cultural remains that I go out and find. So they're not always, so open about sharing things, but, over the years, my coworkers and I, and mainly my coworkers, have really built this relationship with these people, and I'm starting to get this relationship too. Where, they share things with us. We find stuff and they will make suggestions. They're like, it possibly could have been used for this. Like, where we're at, we have stories about, this is where hunting took place, or this is where we did this specific task. So what you're finding could be related to that.
Yeah.
So like I think a lot of archaeologists, we don't always have that, either because we choose not to, or we just don't have the opportunity to talk to the people whose culture that is.
And cross-reference what we learned
yeah.
with what, yeah.
So, there a lot of assumptions get made based on our modern biases of what we think things would be used for, which isn't always the case. And that's one of the big problems with the whole ancient alien thing is, people have a modern concept of what an alien is. And, we see on TV what ET looks like. And then we look at rock art and we say, oh my God, that looks exactly like ET. But that's because we have a biased perception of what ET looks like. It doesn't mean that, a Hopi Indian knew that, that was just something that they came up with. It's either the way they dressed, masks, something like that. It's not necessarily, oh yeah, these space beings came and they had really big eyes and let's put that on rock. And it's like, no, don't know that's what it is. You're making that assumption because of what you understand aliens to be.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I really wish they would apply that to some of the art that we see in medieval. Very, very specifically medieval, and I mean like very in that technical historical sense. Medieval, as in before 1400, before 1350. I'm being very taking on point on this. But even European art before that has a very, very different aesthetic and a very, very different framework for how visual information is sort of placed. And actually, no, this is actually an example I'm about to give is actually Renaissance, not medieval. But it's the portal at it's a portal at a cathedral in France, and I'm blanking on it. It might be at Notre Dame, but the thing is though, it's a depiction. The portal has a relief of the second coming of Christ, or is it second coming? I think it's second coming of Christ. And the thing is though, it has Christ in the middle, and it has all of his disciples around him. But the thing is though, because Christ is the most prominent figure, it is this big, and then everybody else is this big compared to him. He's literally if you took it literally, he's 30 feet tall. But we sort of recognize
he's a giant.
Yeah. He's in the film.
Normal human size.
Yeah. But that's not right. We're just okay, this is just a funny depiction of him, right? We don't seem to extend that to other cultures.
Right. Well, and also I feel a lot of people apply far too much of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Literal understanding of what they're looking at. When you look at art, you can't look at it in the literal sense, because even if it's meant to reflect still life type of stuff, the artist still has their own flair to it. You're not going to be unless it's an identical copy of what they were looking at, there's going to be slight variations. And when people look at art where you have somebody that's clearly much bigger than the other people around them, that's not always literally the case. That person, there may have been a metaphorical reason for that. In your example, Daryl, Jesus is probably depicted much bigger than the other people because he was a larger than life archetype. He's important to the church and to Christianity, and so his depiction is that he's bigger than everybody else because he is more important. And so I think looking at older artwork, which is what rock art is, you find it here in the United States and all over the world, and when you find, anthropomorphic pictures of people, and you have some that are much larger than the others in the whole scene, it may not necessarily be a literal depiction of a giant. It
Yeah.
could just be somebody who was important.
Mhm.
And so they make them bigger than everybody else because they were a more important person. At least that's the way I look at it. Like, you can't just take things literally
Yeah.
when, as humans, part of our cult, like, the way we do things is we have very grand imaginations. We are very creative creatures, and that's part of what makes us so unique, is that we create stories, we paint, we do all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't always necessarily have a literal meaning. A lot of it is just the way we process things and the way we look at the world and the way we feel about things. And I feel like, people don't fully understand that when they look at the past. Like, you watch TV and stuff, and you feel certain things and understand that what you're watching is not real. But then when you look at the past, there seems to be this disconnect that people back then would be doing the same thing that we do today.
Right.
So,
Like one thing I hope I don't get in trouble by past employees for saying, but again, I don't care. um, is one of the last big reports that I contributed to was a site with a substantial amount of petroglyphs on large boulders. And at my previous job, my primary function was lab analysis, but also illustration work. So on this report, I did a lot of illustration work on the petroglyphs that was found based on the pictures from the field crew and the notes that were taken. And one significant petroglyph, in their opinion, was this large image on the largest boulder that they found out there. And there were people, there were lines. The lines had circles in the lines, and they would go to stick figures and attach to, like, maybe an image of what looks like a buffalo and attach to another stick figure, and just kind of, you know, everything was connected in that way. And so immediately the field crew really, really got excited, and they thought, oh my God, this is a map. And I noticed that, taking their images that they drew out there, and then the pictures and the notes, they got so excited that they started incorporating bird poo as some of the pecking. That, like, the bird poo was pecking and incorporated into the overall design that was depicted on that boulder. And I'm thinking to myself, it could be a map. It could. But at the same time, it could be someone very bored out there just making art, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, and archaeologists got so excited, and then they started thinking, maybe all the images on the boulders are all connected. And I'm thinking it could just be that somebody was real bored out there. I've seen kids at the playground do graffiti in snake symbols, or just, really weird shapes and designs on the playgrounds because they're just bored. They've got paint and they're bored. And it's the same thing with pecking, that it could be a map. It very well could be. And if we do enough, background work on the area and match portions of what, this map, maybe we can cross-reference something there. But looking at it and then right away thinking, oh my God, it's a map. It's going to lead us to treasure. It's going to show us where all of the villages are in this area. It's so significant. It's like, okay, hold on there. It could just be
Yeah.
art. And so I think archaeologists always jump to that, like, grandiose idea that, like, oh my God, this is the next big thing. This is so significant. They're leaving us a sign. They're leaving us, something, a clue as to what's going on. And a lot of the time it's art.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are these
Oh, yeah.
people Nicolas Cage fans? Do they like the movie National Treasure?
Well, this is the thing, is that all archaeologists, no matter how much we will turn our noses up at things like Indiana Jones
Yeah.
and Tomb Raider and stuff like that. Deep down inside, we all wish that's what it was like.
Yeah.
There's so many archaeologists that, of our generation especially, and slightly older, who really got interested in doing this work is because they went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark in theaters and they're like, holy shit, I want to do that for a living.
Yeah.
And then, you get to school and you start learning this stuff and you're like, oh no, it's not like that at all. But some of us realize that it's so much more than that and it's a lot cooler.
Yeah.
And stick with it and have a true passion for it. And then you have other people where it's like, oh, well, this isn't what I expected. So those are the people that end up going on and having their stupid reality shows on National Geographic and Discovery and History, where it's like, okay, yeah, I can be the cool person and personify Indiana Jones for TV. But I'm going to turn my nose up at actually doing the work of archaeology. Like, it's...
Okay, the question.
Yeah.
Would you say yes or no? If National Geographic decided to sponsor Goblin Town and make a Goblin Town show for the National Geographic, would you say yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, if they let us do what we want to do and not be like, oh, well, you gotta, ratings. We need it to be this spin-on type thing.
Yeah.
Like, if they just let us do what we wanted to do and didn't, cherry pick things that we talk about and cherry pick the information we're providing.
Right.
And yeah,
And edit that
absolutely.
stuff out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like majority of archaeologists, especially those that are very vocal about the whole pseudo-archaeology type stuff, they're very much of like, hey, yeah, give me a show. I would love to teach you about archaeology. I would love to talk about all of the stuff that's really going on in the world. But the problem is that some of these people, they do get on these shows, they get interviewed, and in post-processing and production after they have their interviews, they cut out all of the important stuff and cherry pick where they can twist what real life archaeologist is saying to fit whatever plot storyline they're trying to go for in their show. Like, I try to explain this to people who don't really fully understand the difference between what I actually do and what's depicted on TV and on shows like Ancient Aliens. My mom watches that show and it drives me crazy, and she'll talk to me about stuff. She's like, well, they have real scientists that come on here. I'm like, yeah, Mom, but this is the thing. Half of them are not real scientists. Half of them are just, these people that have a hobby and going to do what History Channel wants them to do. But then you also have the people that, yeah, they're real historians, they're real archaeologists, but they don't come back because they realize that showrunners have cherry-picked what they've talked about. Like, in the same interview where they're talking about, oh yeah, you have this depiction of this, and then they explain what it actually means based on what that culture says it means, but History Channel will go ahead and cut out that and just, have the little blurb of, oh yeah, this is space or something like that, where it's like, no, there's so much more to it than that.
A lot of the times too, I noticed that on History Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic even, and It's just a lot of archaeology focused programs. They glorify the archaeologist too much too. They focus on like what a great discovery you've made,
Mhm.
how great that's been for your career. What do you think of this? What do you personally think of this? And the interview questions too are geared more towards the archaeologist than descendant communities. That's something that gets cut out a lot of the time, or things like that. It's and it kind of reinforces that romanticism of archaeology and more of old school archaeology where you go into archaeology and you get glorified for the finds.
Mhm.
And that cabinet of collections kind of culture that or where Indiana Jones has tens of thousands of artifacts in his own home, but he also gives the majority of his artifacts to the museum. And rather than the museum talking about, you know, what all of these artifacts point to, it's more of these were donated by the great, amazing Indiana Dr. Jones, and nowadays archaeology is and needs to be less about the archaeologists and more about what was found, like, the descendant community that's associated with the find and what this means for, I mean, I was about to say prehistory, but I guess there's other kinds of archaeology out there.
Is there really? Is there really? Really? Come on, let's think about it. How much history is there versus how much prehistory is there?
I mean,
There's no history. It's all prehistory.
prehistory. But I mean, like, our designation of all of that is like biased anyways. Like, it's all
Yeah.
history, and it's just we decided, like, especially here in the United States, the difference is that what we call prehistoric is basically everything before white people got here. It's like it's still history, but we don't consider it actual history because it's not white people. And
Yeah,
like,
I there was this is another like archaeological fantasies episode. I'm trying to think about who. I think it was about bears ears. So they were talking about bears ears, and there was a particular. I'm trying to remember who it was. What's the name of the town? But like towns usually have established whatever, and they have a little year on it. So, like a typical response, you might ask a person on the street, like, "Okay, what's the oldest town in America?" They might say like Plymouth Rock or something like that, because right, they're referencing when the Pilgrims came in. But this particular town in Utah, their established date is like 632 or something like that, because they're referencing, indigenous populations settlement of the area. And apparently, when they were discussing this on the archaeological fantasies episode, they were saying that some people got really mad at that. That they just didn't like that, and it was just like, why? Like, if you're gonna like,
because, like, well, and then they even talk about, like, if you get into conversations with some people that have really ignorant viewpoints about Native American people, like, they talk about how, oh, well, why are they laying claim to this land? Because they're not originally from here either. It's like, how do you know that? Like, you don't know that, and it doesn't matter because they've been here longer than we have. It was their land before we got here. It's no different than, like, okay, you've lived on this piece of property for the last 15 years, and then somebody from out of town decides they're just gonna come and take your house from you. You're like, but I've lived here for 15 years. And say, no, you haven't. You haven't lived here for 15 years. I've lived here. Like, this is my house now. You don't live here anymore.
Yeah.
It's like,
I've found that people really have a problem with this common phrase that I hear, specifically tribal members say during speeches and presentations that we've been here since time immemorial. Archaeologists have a real problem with that sometimes, and more than archaeologists, people in general have a real problem with that sometimes. That, like, you know you can't have always been here. You can't have always been here since the start of the start of humanity and civilization. You can't have always been here since the very start, but it's just, you know, they've been here before us. We can't prove anything. What's the problem with saying that?
Right. Well, it's like, and most of the time, all of our theories about the migration, it's constantly changing. Like,
Right. Yeah.
we just a couple of years ago, we found actually here in Nevada, in northern Nevada, in Pyramid Lake, I think, they found like some of the oldest rock art in all of North America, and it's like 12, I think they estimate like 12,000 years old. It's like, you know, some of the projected migratory theories about, crossing the Bering Sea and all that stuff is like after 12,000 years ago. So it's like one thing that we have issues with, both as a field, but I feel like humans as a whole really don't like having things changed on them. And so when long-standing theory gets, turned on its head, where it's like, okay, this worked for, before, but we now have new information to say, no, this is not the case. People have a really hard time accepting that. And there's a lot of scientists and a lot of archaeologists that also have a really hard time accepting that, where it's like, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is what we've learned for the last 30 something years. It's like, no, we find new information all the time. Like, it's part of being a good scientist and part of being a good archaeologist is knowing that you know nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially as archaeologists, like, we really don't. Like, we find stuff and we make a lot of assumptions about what we find. And, there's some things where, yes, the more recent stuff that we have written documentation for, we can, cross-reference the historical record, and we can look at things like bottle marks on glass bottles and embossing on cans and stuff like that, and do research where we can then figure out what was going on. But we don't have that same resource for stuff that's older than that, because there wasn't really a written history per se. And a lot of what we rely on is assumptions made by archaeologists that came before us. And then we also, have to rely on the descendant populations. But a lot of these descendant populations, we have to remember that when Europeans came here, part of the genocide we committed was destroying their culture, was taking them and telling them, okay, well, if you're going to survive, and you don't want to end up like everybody else that's already been murdered, you're going to have to assimilate. And, I've written a couple of school papers like in the past on this, where, during time of like the Indian schools and stuff like that, where they were sending Native American children away, motto for the United States was, kill the Indian, save the man.
Yeah, I remember that.
So they would, force them to only speak English, force them to convert to Christianity or Catholicism, cut their hair, make them dress like white people. And by doing so, they cut off their connection to their heritage. And a lot of these cultures now, they lose that because the older generation ends up dying off and the information doesn't get passed down. So they're also in kind of a scramble of trying to save their history because so little is known, because the people that came before them either were forced to assimilate or died off and didn't have the opportunity to pass that knowledge on.
Yeah. And I think I think that's kind of this sort of reminds me of my thought is that I think with archaeologists like people in general, but also I guess with archaeologists kind of have a problem is because sometimes we really want to take things literal, or we want to have a particular like set canon narrative, like this is what's true, that's not true. But like this is gonna be me on my soapbox, but I think what the real issue is with dealing with these native populations is not that their story is literally true or not true, but that they have agency over that narrative, agency over their identity. I was remember hearing like someone discussing about how I think it was a person from the Lakota tribes or Lakota nations talking about their sort of stories they have and stories about their ancestors riding on horses. But if you take that literally true, that doesn't seem right because modern horses didn't exist in North America until Europeans came. Right? But that's just them sort of recontextualizing like their stories to fit in a more modern context, which is what they have horses now. Right? And so it's more important for them to have that identity, have the agency of making that sort of story about themselves, rather than us literally kind of saying, well, that's not quite true because of paleontological, whatever, archaeological evidence. Soapbox, okay, down.
I mean, soapbox away.
Yeah, so, hint, that's gonna be my next thing. I really, really, really want to have some goblins that have some stories for them to tell, and I want you as a player to know that it's not true. I'm gonna make you sort of like twist in the wind, like no.
Aww.
Can't believe anything NPCs tell us anymore. Like Moo. That was driving me nuts.
I don't know if you read the tweet, but there was a tweet that I wrote earlier, but I deleted it because I thought we were gonna do Goblin Town. I might re-put it up. It's really funny because I know that some of you are confused about Fred, but actually,
Oh, I saw that. I don't remember what that could have been about.
it's funny because this is the thing that tortures me as the DM, because I know I give you enough clues. I feel, okay, this is me being selfish and being arrogant, but I feel like I give you enough clues to actually understand what it is, but like the players kind of turn the pieces upside down or they kind of twist it around a little bit, and it's really funny because sometimes you get like 80% there, and I'm like, oh crap, they have it, and then at the last like second, they turn around and head off in this other direction, like, oh crap. Okay, rearrange it. I gotta like work something here, right? Collaborative narrative.
I'm scared to ask this, but what is the percentage of us doing what you don't expect or want sometimes?
I honestly can't say, but it was really this has happened like twice now. Has it twice? Yeah, it's twice. It's happened twice now. I will literally sit down for 20, 30 minutes, maybe like even as much as 40 minutes, and I'll sit there and I'll map out, okay, like these are the possible choices that they'll make. They'll either go here or go there or go this way. And I'm like, okay, if they do this, this is the thing. And I'll start to map out things, like how things will happen, how people will react based on my guess, my prediction of what the actions you will take. Come playtime, somehow, some way, you end up taking a path I had not thought about at all, just completely off out left field, and I'm like, there goes my notes, like whatever.
I feel like this
Give
is
us an
what
example?
happened.
Yeah, like I don't like. What are those two times?
I feel like this happened during the whole the T-Rex introduction scene. Like I feel like that did not go the way Daryl planned it to go.
Okay, so my thought, my absolute okay, so I sort of thought about it. My assumption would be that you would fight the dinosaur. I didn't expect you to make friends with the dinosaur. I thought you would fight it, and then Moo would be like, "Oh, okay, you're fighting it," and then you would join them. Like Moo would join you, and you would beat the dinosaur. So I was sort of fidgeting, like, okay, how much HP can it be? What's his challenge rating to make sure that it would count for the levels that are given to Moo and those characters, so that it would actually like fit in underneath, so you wouldn't die against the dinosaur. And then
Right.
you're like, no, I'm gonna make friends with it.
So like,
So that's so like you didn't fight it. So Moo's like, okay, fine, you're not fighting it. You go do your own thing. You go ahead, be suicidal. I'm gonna, check out.
you had to like conjure up some other dangers and foes for us to fight at that moment to try to steer us away from the dinosaur, and it didn't work.
Well, no, I was just like that was my imagination was like that was gonna be how you earned Moo's trust. Was that you would actually
Oh my
cooperate in fighting the
god!
dinosaur, but you didn't. So Moo was just like, okay, yeah, you guys are crazy. You're trying to make friends with a giant man-eating dinosaur. Or sorry, big head, 2 feet eating dinosaur. Okay. So, okay, we're gonna just go, you're gonna do your thing, we're gonna go to safety, and and that was the thing. Yeah, you tripped
And then
out
I
of
made the trust issue even worse because then I attacked them.
yeah, so I was just kind of like, oh, hell.
So we could have potentially been bros with Moo's crew, but that was completely
we
just
messed
thrown
it
up.
up.
Yeah, we messed that up.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, now, no. I'm gonna fight back on that. It does, like, again, I am sticking to the idea that this is a collaborative narrative, okay? It's only a mess up if you're trying to reach my goal. We are not trying to reach my goal, we're trying to reach everybody's goal, which is we are enjoying ourselves. And if we're enjoying ourselves, then we are successful.
Fair.
I do love hearing this though, just because like a lot of the times I feel like we're kind of like, what should we do? What should we do? And then you DM kind of like give us little hints, just like maybe you should try this, and we're like, okay, fuck it, let's do that. And then I think this story is going too much down like a linear path that like, oh no, maybe Daryl's like expecting and predicting everything. So hearing that we're still throwing you off a little bit, I'm hoping that that's fun for you because I'm thinking the entire time that like maybe this is a little bit too predictable, but
I'll give you another one. Not so the box, right? The box. If you remember the date on the box, how it goes back, that box,
yeah,
you were meant to dig that up with the shovel hobs. But you
not
just
the
like,
cursed object box.
yeah. So, because the thing is, the shovel hobs, they're digging a place. Like that thing that you went up to, that platform that you like found and you kind of found the stairs of, that was supposed to be a dig site for this ancient alien culture, for the cursed objects, and you're supposed to find the box then, but you're just like, nah, screw it, we don't care about this, we're gonna head to the Mesa. So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, we're gonna leave the box for later. And then you're like, okay, whatever, okay, you open up this room, I'm gonna put the box right here. Okay.
And then if we didn't find it, you would just be like, I'm not wasting this idea. It will follow you.
I am gonna put the box in here somehow.
And just like everywhere we go, it's just like, fuck, they're in Goblin Town already. What am I gonna do with that damn box? I'm gonna put it in the mayor's house. They didn't go into the mayor's house. What the?
So, like, yeah, so there's not a lot, but there's a handful of things that I have drawn up, and I'm just sort of like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? Like the Nilbog. Like I gave a hint about a Nilbog. So there is a Nilbog in town. If you want to go back to town, I have a Nilbog waiting for you. It doesn't have to be back in Goblin Town, but I think it would make a lot of sense if you guys went back to Clark. So in case you know what a Nilbog is.
Looking it up.
No idea.
Nilbog is a goblin spelled backwards.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a goblin wizard then, or I don't.
So I think like last time I was talking about clowns.
Possessed?
So
Goblins possessed by trickster spirits.
yeah, so a Nilbog, kind of like the name implies, it's a goblin backwards, so it flips the power dynamic that we usually have with goblins, which is usually in D&D, goblins are stupid, weak, like cowardly. You basically mow them down. They're cat and fodder. A Nilbog is kind of funny because it flips that because you can't hurt a Nilbog. You literally punch it. If you punch it, it heals. or like you punch it and you hurt yourself. Like so, it flips
Oh.
everything. And so it's kind of related to what I was talking about last time about clowns in Hopi culture, which is in that sort of trickster clown tradition. You flip everything. You reverse and turn upside down social norms. Um,
How do
but
you beat something like that then if you can't fight it?
well, that's kind of the point, right? Like it gives a kind of for D&D players in a traditional sense, it gives a nice twist to it because you're like, okay, I can't just beat the heck out of it. I have to do something without. I can't just do the normal way I approach a goblin. But of
Yeah.
course, because right that I'm approaching this in this anthropological, archaeological perspective, sociological perspective, whatever. I'm taking that Nilbog idea and I'm flipping it also in a kind of funny way. So, yay! I gotta draw some more for that one.
Chaotic evil. The Nilbog. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
It's not an animal, so I'll probably I mean Dagmar will definitely just, go up and do Dagmar things.
You're gonna punch it and then like your punch is gonna like bounce off of it and like hit you.
What? Like this doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna try it again. Oh man. Sometimes I think between sessions that like, should I ask Daryl to just kill me so that I can like create a non-problematic character?
Dagmar's so fun. Just like she really balances out like the whole team because we have like Gradall who gives everybody flowers every chance he gets, and then you have
Yeah.
Dagmar who's like the polar opposite.
Oh God, the grave site, the cemetery. What's this doing on the screen?
Oh, like I'm just like flipping through the artwork because it's just sort of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Um, Dagmar is just. I worried though, because like as my first D&D character, I had her be as plain as possible because I thought, I can add all the quirks later. I'm still trying to figure out the game. I mean, we've been doing this for a year. We're 22 sessions in, something like that. I don't know how to level up still. So she's just, that's
You've
why
done
I
it once.
just
You've done it
assume-
once already.
Yeah, well,
And
I
I'm
just assumed that like we level up when Daryl
Together.
tells us to level
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's-
thought that.
So again, this is where this whole game is kind of like tweaked in a weird way because in game time we've only experienced like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks of time total.
We don't know each other well.
So it's a little bit weird for you to like level up in the space of like 2 days, right? Because
Well, because like, yeah, like I thought about it because when we were fighting the mimic, right? Daryl, you were saying something about like, okay, Dagmar, you took like 9 hits of damage or something, and I was just like, cool. Like, what do I do with that? Like, and then I started realizing like I think I have to keep track of my HP, and I think I have to do some subtractions. I have to figure out what my HP is, and then I think you said something about XP, and I was just like, where does that go? I don't have like a level cap or like a level number that I have or XP points. I'm just like, what do I do with all this? I think I'm just gonna live forever. So
Well, what's
I feel
cool
pretty
that
OP.
I discovered like during one of the last games, I think it was the session with the T-Rex where I was taking damage, and Roll20 actually has in your character sheet, they have your hit points. You can actually use that to add your damage. So then like if you got hit and suffered 9 damage, then you just add the 9. And then I assume that if you reach whatever your hit point limit is, that's when you're like dead. But I don't know because
so
I'm learning too. So
Yeah, we're the newbies.
So like the way it works is if you hit 0, what happens is you fall unconscious. So technically, the way it works is that, or well, I mean, this might be a little bit of house ruley things because like that's the thing. There's a couple of rules that are slightly unclear. So every group or every player, every DM sort of does their own little tweak to it. What I've been doing was the thing that is sort of textbook rules is that once you hit 0, you fall unconscious. You're not actually dead.
Okay.
And so you have to roll a
We're
death
immortal.
save. No, you have to roll a death
Oh.
save. So once you hit 0, what happens is each time your turn comes up, rather than you get up or take a turn, you have to roll a die, and basically you have to get more than 10. It's a coin flip, 50-50. If you come up successful, you put a mark in the save. If you fail, you put a mark in the fail. Once you have 3 of either one, once you hit 3, either saves or 3 fails, then your fate is decided. Either you stabilize or you die. The other thing is if you're at 0 and you take damage, you automatically fail. You automatically fail 1, or you just straight out die. So that's the way to sort of force it. You get knocked out, and then the bad guys continue to poke you, and then you just automatically fail and you die.
I'll Dagmar's pretty unscathed right now. I'll work on that for this next year.
Well, I gotta put more battles
She's
in.
ever taken damage before. So she's still at like 45, hit points, but I imagine that resets anytime you sleep, right?
Yeah, so when you do a full
Yeah.
rest, all of your hit points and your spell slots and your key points reset.
So if a character is down to like 1 hit point left, is that the time where they need to like text the DM and be like, "Yo, I need to sleep really bad right now or I'm going to die."
No, that's when the DM's like, "Oh, the enemies notice that you are wavering, that you are weak in your knees and your posture has slumped a little. They're gonna go for you. They smell blood in the water."
T-Rex appears. Roll for initiative.
Oh, that's when I'm gonna throw ghosts at you, so then the T-Rex can't bite them. They just go right through the T-Rex.
You have to phasmophobia it.
Missed that. We need to play
You go
that.
hide in a room and hold the door and pray that it doesn't come through.
The T-Rex walked through the door and then it hit you and it killed you.
Oh, this feels like Jurassic Park when he went after the guy. Oh no, it went after Ian Malcolm, and knocked over the restroom.
Oh yeah.
Which, now that I think
And
about
ate the
it,
guy sitting on the toilet.
yeah. Now that I think about it, wait a minute, there were a lot of palm fronds in that. Wait a minute, a building like that wouldn't literally be made out of palm fronds. That's weird.
I think it was the roof, wasn't it? The roof.
Yeah, but even then, why would you put palm fronds? Because that means you have to replace it. You have to repair it on a regular basis because they
That's
rot.
true.
It's always fake palm fronds.
Would be logic.
You talked about before doing a really, really creepy, spooky episode, and I still hope that you do, because, just kind of thinking about it now, the phasmophobia mechanic of hiding, that would be really, really fun to do in D&D. Just that, are we hiding in the right places? Do they hear us? Did we misroll for trying to stay as quiet as possible?
So I've actually sort of prepped you a little bit for that because the map with it's very labor intensive, it's very slow, but I was trying to replicate a little bit of the Among Us mechanic where you have fog of war and sight, you can't see around corners, and so I was doing that with the map, right? So
Yeah.
it was kind of nice that you kind of were surprised when you went in a giant loop.
That I didn't expect that. I thought the map was a lot bigger too. I didn't realize we went all the way to the end of it and then so quickly we were able to make our way back. And had we gone that way, we would have gotten to the top of the mesa quicker. So
But that's the dungeon, right?
Yeah, that was really And I wanted to go down that way too. So like Dagmar as the character was just like, what the hell? I opened this door. Like there's a spiral staircase. Like come the frick on. So like that was interesting. That was cool. And then the dinosaur just chilling there. Well, Genera too. Like it'll be interesting to see if he's still our buddy next session.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so again, well, screw it, spoilers, whatever.
That's what we're here for.
And like Michael and Lisa are not here, so
If they if they watch the video, they get a spoiler. This is a special episode.
so the reason why, so the spoiler is again, and especially for you, Dagmar, you already found the way to the creepy session.
Look at her writing this down.
Go on, do tell.
Like you've already found it. Like 2-3 sessions ago, you already found that entrance. But
In the dungeon?
Yeah.
I think I know where it is.
yeah, so that's the funny thing is like, but everybody else was going off in a different directions. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna just follow the group.
They were following Cassandra, and then it was all the way down at the bottom left of the map, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aha! Again!
Collaborative
remember
narrative,
that.
okay? You didn't have to go that way. You can go any way you want. You can be just like, screw it. We don't like this place anymore. Screw ancient aliens. We want to go back and find that pig.
I would have stayed there too, but the light was going away. You had it turn black again in that corner, and I was just like, well, shit, I can't stay here.
Well, because the group
So,
was moving. That's the shadow of or fog of war.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
Right.
Oh, well, actually, shoot. Maybe it's not gonna make much sense. Well, I had a thought today, and I'm gonna introduce more animals, and I'm just gonna make you either laugh or cry. I don't know which.
Or both.
But so this is again for archaeological question, but it's zoo archaeology. So maybe you're just gonna like Daryl no. But the how I don't know if you've ever done any work with animals and the signs of them being domesticated. Because that's zoo archaeology,
Not
right?
domesticated. Yeah, it is. I haven't worked on any sites with any domestication, no.
Okay. Because I'm kind of interested in seeing, like, right, because there should be some signs of it, because you should be able to see the progression of the bones of the animal sort of change from when their sort of wild counterpart to their more domesticated counterpart, right? There's a lot of things that are going to change. So.
That will be really interesting though. There's a person I follow on Instagram. I really like the content and the stuff he puts out. It's Synology, I think is how he's pronouncing ethnosynology. So he's David Ian Howe. He has a podcast on Archeo Podcast Network, same as Sarah, but he studies the relationship through the archaeological record of dogs and humans. And so he posts a lot of content on domesticated dogs. And so I'll just have to study up on that. I am interested in it. That is really cool stuff.
That's cool.
But more animals is just you gotta give Dagmar a break, dude. I have no
She either needs one she can have as a pet.
Yes,
one that'll actually talk to her. Like,
thank you.
normal.
Yeah.
No more. God.
Teasing?
Huh?
No more teasing, like tempting her?
Oh no.
Yeah, like
God, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but the person that you based the ferrets voice.
Oh, Paula Dean?
Yeah, no more Paula
I didn't want
Deans.
that. I wouldn't have wanted that ferret.
Oh, okay. Okay, like my like one little bit of pushback on that. It's like okay, like her as an individual, I'm like okay, like criticize those politics as much as you'd like, but I don't want this sort of show to think that we're making fun of people from the South. So my sort of revenge for
Oh
you
no.
was my
No.
sort of revenge for
Butter
you
lady.
was to make all of the food in Clark Cajun. So they're gonna have crawfish boils and like just buttermilk like biscuits, butter on everything. We're gonna have trotters, catfish, like fried catfish, like all of it.
I
That
mean, to
I
be
don't
fair,
mind.
like,
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that, especially if they don't
yeah.
put freaking sardines in oatmeal. But like,
I know. What is with that? Why?
god damn. That was the beginning of us not liking Fred.
Yeah. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. But it's just I didn't jive well with that ferret. It was like she just she I didn't have very many good conversations with the ferret, let's say.
You didn't have a good conversation with that horse either.
I know, it
No,
reminded me of the
yeah.
horse. That horse could just
that was the beginning of the end of the animal talking.
That right, and that, yeah, exactly. That was the first animal I talked to, and I was just like, this is dumb. I thought this was gonna benefit me.
Well, why would you talking about archaeology? Like it's a horse.
Oh
Like, why would you ask it about the area of potential effects? Like, I don't know that. I've got a bachelor's degree.
yeah. I just like spoiler, I guess. The thing is, like, I'm justifying my animal craze because again, like Anna the archaeologist would be doing this too. Like, if there's like a wild animal on site, we had some wild dogs come up to us. You know, I would opt to play with the animals over eating lunch some days. I would go without lunch because it's like, where the dogs? Where the dogs at? I need to go and fucking play with the dogs. And it's the same thing, lizards, you know, whatever's out there, I'm gonna gravitate towards it. But I justify it with Dagmar in that she's coming from a culture where a lot of the warriors are paired with animal kind of companions. Not familiars, but just like companions in war. And her in particular had a very, very strong connection with hers. And then it died in a way that really traumatized her. And she's kind of trying to fill that void, and so she's looking at every single animal that crosses her path as like, could this be the one? Could this be the one? And then every time she gets close, Daryl takes it away.
Aww.
So really, whenever people are like, "Oh fuck, it's Dagmar doing that thing again, like fucking screwing us up again," really, it's Daryl's fault for not giving me what I need as a warrior.
I am shocked and appalled. Okay, you
Just give me
besmirch
the
me.
pig. If you gave me the pig, I never would have tried to befriend a large T-Rex-esque creature.
That pig might have gotten eaten by the ticks. Okay.
No, I would never. I would never.
Oh my goodness.
I'd lay down my life before that happened.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm gonna think of a way to. I just thought of a way to torture you because the thing
Oh,
is
no.
right. Like again, going back to sort of like sociological zoo archaeological sort of inclinations, right? Our relationship with animals as pets is very very modern, right? It's a very very contemporary sort of relationship. And
Yeah.
like if you go to other countries, right, they don't have quite that same relationship that Americans do have with animals. Like they don't care, like whatever, it's an animal in the street. So I was gonna thinking about taking that particular attitude and just fill Clark with stray dogs, and just people like don't care, it's a stray dog, whatever, kick it. um, but now because you're after the pig, I'm gonna be like, no, screw it. It's not gonna be stray dogs, it's stray pigs. Clark's
No,
gonna be filled with stray
it's
pigs.
confusing. Well, I mean, especially if they're all wearing hats too. Like,
Oh.
They're all just sort of rooting through the trash with their little paws.
They're all trying to protect Daintyfoot, so they're like passing the hat around.
Or no, it's gonna be like, oh, what is it? There's a manga that's about stray dogs. It's like a bunch of stray dogs in like Tokyo or something like that. Um, or it'll be like The Incredible Journey. The one where it's the two dogs and the cat, and they get like left out, like way far away, and they have to make their way back home. I don't know if you ever read that book. It's kind of like, I don't know, kind of an older one, like late '80s, early '90s. It was a '90s movie called The Incredible Journey.
Or if you watch the movie Homeward Bound.
Oh, that's it. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's Homeward
Yeah.
Bound. The movie name is Homeward Bound, but I think the book is called The Incredible Journey.
It is, yeah.
And it was really kind of shocked because they flipped it. They flipped the two dogs. Because in the movie, the bulldog or the terrier bulldog or whatever is the young one, but in the book, it's the old one, and they flip it the other way.
Hmm. The lore, thinking about the pig thing though, the lore of it's just thinking, because like I think before you said that there's like a little, fence or something like that, like a little farm area behind the mayor's house where he keeps all of the miniature pigs. And then he's like, you can't have this one, but you could take your pick of any of the ones out back. And then Dagmar's thinking, no, one pig truly reigned supreme here, and I want that one. And just thinking that while we've been gone, maybe the pigs just, breeding got out of control, and now they've exceeded the fence lines and they're just everywhere.
This is not the guinea pigs in that one like Disney cartoon, okay? Which is a favorite cartoon of mine. I love that guinea pigs. A pig is a pig. Pay the extra tax.
But I mean, like, think about it. Like, if it really got out of control and there's stray pigs everywhere, and then like maybe there's like this little balcony over like at the mayor's house, and then Daintyfoot goes out onto that balcony, and it's just like, they're all mine. All of these people are under my control.
I
This
thought
is
you were gonna
my
do.
town.
I thought you were gonna do like an Evita thing, like "No lloren por mi Argentina," kind of thing, like.
Daintyfoot becomes a mayor, and then I take the mayor away with me because it gets to be overwhelming
Okay.
being a pig mayor. I want that
man.
pig.
And then like the pig signs the papers with like a little foot, like hoof print. Boop.
Yeah, it's a little tiny stamp. It's God, man. Is the mayor ever gonna come back and be? Well, I mean, he's kind of a recurring character, but do you have any plans for the mayor?
I haven't written it, but I already have a backstory in my head.
Oh shoot! Does Daintyfoot have a backstory?
I don't know if I've written it down. I mean, I've already come up with a voice for Daintyfoot, so I gotta practice.
Yeah. I never noticed that before, but his shirt, it's not fully tucked in, is it?
No, he's got a belly. It sticks out. It like pushes his shirt out of his pants.
I always thought that was a belt or something.
That's his
And then I
belly
look
button.
at-
If you notice, like a little bit, there's a belly button, and you can
There's a
see
belly button, yeah.
like a little bit of like belly hair on there.
Oh my god. Daryl, you think of everything. It's incredible. Except missed opportunity. I see you have multiple kinds of hats on the mayor. You could have done an Indiana Jones fedora.
But he's not an archaeologist, though. He's trying to be fancy.
True.
What else could we talk about for the dungeon though?
Dungeon.
The face huggers, the weird black liquid at the bottom of that box that keeps trying to follow us.
It's not moving. I didn't say it was moving.
Well, the lid definitely. Well, I mean, the lid hovers. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I really like that box. There's a certain thing about that box. You don't have to touch it. Don't touch it. If you don't want to touch it, don't touch it. But there's a certain thing about that box that I really liked. If you never get to it, that's fine. Doesn't matter. I'll probably use it as like some other players, my friends, in some other game later. But just saying.
Now we're gonna have to touch the box.
I know, but like I don't know if you saw Ellie, but like the comments during that part of the game, Daryl was just typing away, just like touch it, touch it, touch it. I'm just like, it's like wow, this is a real significant push that you're making. You don't typically do this big of a push, and like.
Well, no, I was just gonna try to psych you out because like you've grown more paranoid. You
Yes.
your paranoia, I think, has sort of like that's sort of the thing that's throwing me off a little bit because there's a certain way that people act in a typical like D&D setting, and you're kind of like not doing that in certain cases, and that's sort of throwing me off, and that paranoia is what's throwing me off, right? And there's certain ways that people act, and so it was just sort of a psych out because you're like I'm not gonna touch it, and we're too paranoid. We're not gonna touch it. We don't trust you. Screw you in your box, Daryl. Right? And so I was just like, fine, whatever. Touch it, touch it, touch it, touch it, touch it, touch it, touch it.
Are there players out there that they're just like, oh, deep, like dark demon box? I'm gonna lick it. Like, are there players?
Oh, that's the thing. That's what I forgot.
Listen, Anna. There were people suggesting that they should drink the mummy sarcophagus juice. So of course there are players that would lick the cursed demon box.
That's what that was the thing I was gonna do. If we were actually gonna play a game today, I was gonna have a theory do Goblin intuition science on it, GIS, and that would involve her touching it, looking at it, smelling it, and tasting it. She would have to taste it. So she would have to blindfold herself, and one of you would have to blindfold yourselves and spin the box. That way you do the double blind methodology, so she could lick each side of the box, but like randomize it.
Everyone, this is why Daryl doesn't have a CRM company. I don't think you could have possibly round up a more careful team of players. It's like, we can't disturb it. We can't touch it. We can't so much as like move the air in such a way that a tiny fleck of dust moves off the box. Like I'm still like pinching myself that I lifted the lid, even though I lifted it with the sword. I'm just like, I disturbed the box. I can't believe I moved it. I can't believe I did anything with it. Like,
Convenience is
doesn't matter.
destroyed.
What?
Well, it's kind of like our first like session in where we were basically forced to step outside of our comfort zone as archaeologists, where it was like we had to open up that mausoleum, and it's like we hear people having a party inside, and we're like, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, we'll open it up. And we open it, and there's nothing inside, just crypt and the artifacts, and we're just
And then
looking
that
around. We're
wave.
like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna close the door now.
Right, because it's like we hear voices in there, and it's like it's already disturbed, right?
Mhm.
So we're not going to disturb it any much more if we go in there too and investigate, and then we go in there and it's like, oh no, this was not disturbed. We're disturbing it right now. Like, we're the ones doing this now, like from start to finish. Like, shit.
I thought you were
feel
going to
like-
talk about the inadvertent discovery when, like, I freaked you out because, like, the soil was undisturbed, but you found a box underneath it.
Goddamn. Like, I feel like at the start of every game, there needs to just be like, hey, archaeologists, turn it off. Turn it off. Like, just because it's hard. It's hard. I still think of Dagmar like she's got some like morals and ethics that I wasn't expecting on giving her. like on the archaeology side of things, and then me as a person, and then also me as a gamer. I don't like killing NPCs in games. I really, really don't like doing that because I'm like, if I do that, I'm gonna miss out on some dialogue. I'm gonna miss out on some quests. The world is gonna be one less person. Like, I don't want to do that. And so she's more passive than I thought she was gonna wind up being. And then she killed Murder. She murdered Murder.
She
And
murdered.
yeah, and I think I reflected on that for the next following 2 days, just like, did I really just do that?
it really affected you, which
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it's funny because I think you didn't realize how powerful Dagmar was, and it was like a one hit kill, and it was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, because like really, honestly though, I thought that like because I kept looking at you guys, I was like, all right, do I go? Do I attack it? Like I'll start this shit, but I won't finish it. I'll start it though. And I got
both.
I got the green light from everybody, and I was thinking to myself, I will be fine so long as somebody else delivers the killing blow. Whoops, I just did it. Sorry. I didn't even want to talk to the other character at all. I'm just like, I didn't mean that. Sorry. That can never happen again.
I'm still debating whether you'll meet her mother. She's just gonna be wandering around town like, my daughter's gone missing. The love of my life, Mirena.
Oh my god.
What is her name
There's,
gonna
like-
be? Deceased?
Deceased.
Oh.
Deceased, murder.
Like no. Well, okay. So no, it would have to be a very very hobgoblin-y thing. It's gonna be. Oh shoot! If I gave her a name like that, I might pull out my linguistics, like the little bit of linguistics I know, to give her a name that you cannot pronounce.
Oh, like Dr. Pickle?
Well, his is just ridiculously long, but I mean that is true. But like, well, since I have the floor, we really need to wrap this up soon because I'm supposed to do something else in a little bit. Actually, but what happens is the human mouth, as a human being, you are physically capable of making like 100 or hundreds of different kinds of sounds, but any given language only accesses a few dozen or several dozen, right? So once you kind of, and oftentimes in certain combinations, like a glottal stop. A glottal stop is the sound you make when you do an ng, like a thing or sing. And so you do that at the end or the middle of a word, but you cannot do it at the beginning. So so for the two of you, I'm guessing you cannot say no, which should be the glottal stop at the beginning,
Yeah.
which is I in Cantonese.
Oh.
So if I say like I'm from America, 我係從美國. So doing the glottal stop at the beginning, right? I'll do things like that to do like a hobgoblin name just to screw with you. I'm sorry.
We're gonna we're gonna start short rounding everything then, just like how short round's just like, hi, my name's Juan Lee, and Indiana Jones must have been like, that's nice, your name's Short Round now.
Yeah.
And I've heard of this happening in the field in real life where friends of mine have just been like, they might have Hawaiian names or Chinese names in the field. They introduce themselves to another archaeologist, and then the other archaeologist is like, that's really difficult to pronounce. Do you have a nickname? And just like,
See, me not having an ethnic name can relate to this.
oh yeah.
And I have a field nickname when I started with the company I currently work for. One of my coworkers decided on a nickname, and so now my nickname is Yogi, like Yogi Bear.
Cute. I love that.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
So like that's just like nickname that I never had before, and then I started working for this company, and they're like, "Yep, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
Yogi now."
Yeah.
like it's a little bit terrible. When I was in China for a little bit, they were like, you know what, let's give you a Chinese name. I'm like, okay, fine, give me a Chinese name. Okay. And they were like, Wonka. They're like, okay, which is a fairly kind of, it's not common, but it's a fairly sort of standard, like, Chinese name. And I remember introducing myself to some other, like, expats, like a British guy. I was talking to, like, a British guy. Like, yeah, my Chinese name here is Wonka. And you can remember it because it sounds like wanker. I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. Call me wanker. Wanka. Wanka. I'm
Did you
like,
say that specifically because he was British, or
yeah,
would
yeah,
you
I
have
said it
that
specifically because
be
he's British, so he
foreign?
would remember my Chinese name that I had, so.
Oh my god.
That's funny.
So I'm
Oh
like, okay, fine.
man. I don't even have a hard name, but I love making Japanese people laugh when I introduce myself to a Japanese person because it's like my name's Anna, and then they're just like, okay,
Okay.
that's fine. That's yeah, like okay, that's I can remember that. That's cool. And then it's just like there's a pause, and it's like whole in Japanese, Anna whole, and then
Okay.
they're just like, why did you do that?
Okay. So Anna,
Yeah.
what you so what you gotta do is you gotta add an n sound. You gotta make the n. You gotta do the
No,
n
I
sound
don't like
twice.
that. I don't
No,
know.
no, no. Because Anna is a
Yeah.
Japanese name. Anna Tsuchiya is a famous actress. She's kind of a little bit on the older side now. She's like in her 40s or 50s and kind of a little bit past like her big deal. But she's in the movie Kamikaze Girls, which is a movie that
Oh,
came out like in early 2000s.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like
Wait, he has kanji for that?
uh usually they write it for her. She's usually written in katakana, so they just say it like like
Yeah.
kind of a forename, like Anna. But that is her name, and so she's got like bleached hair in the movie because she's like kind of like a yankumi, like a Yankee, because
Mhm.
she's kind of like a delinquent kind of thing. But she's in the movie, so Anna is a very like it's a fairly standard Japanese name, right? So and you'd be like, I'm
Yeah.
Anna, like Anna Tsuchiya. They're like, or Tsuchiya Anna. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, and then like, do
Yeah.
like, okay.
I I feel like before 50 Shades of Grey 50 Shades of Grey came out, and then also Frozen came out at the same time, where there were ANNA characters in, foreign media, and then when it goes into Japan, they translate it to ANA because in Japanese it's either pronounced Anna or Anna. And I think it started becoming like the name, they focused more on the sound than getting it spelled correctly. And that's always resonated with me better because I would rather have it sound like my name and be spelled differently than have it be spelled the same and sound differently. Because before those movies came out, people would just immediately be like, okay, oh, your name is Anna, so then Anna. And it's every time they would do that, I would be like, why did you say it like that? That's not my name. Like, and then spelling it too. I didn't necessarily like doing the going from four spelling my name with four American or English characters to three Japanese characters. Going from four to two was more natural to me. And so it wasn't until 50 Shades of Grey came out that people like understood that like, oh, you have the two characters and then the Anna pronunciation. That makes sense. I used to explain that to Japanese people and they'd be like, no, no, Anna is your name. And it's like,
I just find it funny that you like the factors of 4 to go down to 2. Like a weird math thing.
yeah, they're both even numbers.
Okay. I'm
Uh,
I'm gonna have to the goblins are gonna have to come up with their like goblin names and then like their human names.
yeah, it would be cool to see if there's like a goblin naming trend because I know for the hobgoblins there's a bit of a trend there with a lot of the names being like words or you're doing geology terms and
Metallurgy.
rocks too. Yeah, yeah.
So
And so like that was cool.
yeah, so I like I'm gonna have to go like real soon. So but like yeah, so I kind of wanted to again like I started taking like immigration patterns and like immigrant culture like here in America.
Mm.
Um how certain people will take certain names and anglicize them or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I was seeing in an article, or maybe it's just a tweet, how Washington is actually very, very strongly associated with African Americans because Washington is supposed to be sort of associated with liberation, right? So like most people who have the last name Washington are African American and things like that. Or I think Freeman,
Okay. Yeah.
like Fryman was like a Polish thing, Fryman, and then America became like Freeman or Friedman or something like that.
Freeman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of want to do that. But the thing is, though, I kind of have to come up with Goblin. But Goblin's not sexy, so we don't have. Like, Elvish, or Elven is sexy, so you can go out and learn Elven, but you can't learn Goblin. So I'm going to have to, like, come up with it myself. And, like, it's more work.
You got to create this world from scratch, this homebrew D&D campaign, all of these characters, and a couple languages too, and some culture stuff, and some ancient history and all that. It's
Because
fine. Just
stinking
an average D&D campaign.
Wizards of the Coast didn't do their dang homework. Where's that stupid player's handbook right now? I need to go find the credits page and yell at the editor. I am typing a strongly worded email right after this.
Do it, I dare you.
We
But
gotta go to petition.org.
heck yeah. But I guess the last question I had before, if you've got to go, just that for the con, are we going to be doing a special like one shot kind of deal, or is it going to be a continuation? Like, what's a little hint of what's going to happen at the con?
Honestly, it's up to you. Like, I mean, it's kind of funny because my thought was either we were gonna do this, the thing we just did was what we were gonna do for the con. So, whoops. That was one option that I was thinking. The other option would be like if I could sort of maybe tweak the dungeon, or we either like fast forward in time or go back in time or whatever, so that we can do something specifically in Clark, right? Or I tweak the dungeon to have something very specifically that you'd want to do, want to go over. Um, because we still have a little bit of time, like 2 weeks left. Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah,
Um,
a week and a half.
a week and a half. So then I could quickly sort of sketch up a couple things or whatever, make a bunch of more cursed objects and stuff like that, or make up like a site for you guys. Or, because you just gotta. There's enough in the dungeon here. There's enough sort of that you haven't explored that I could quickly sort of rearrange something or whatever, and I'll just sort of whisper to you guys, go left, go up to the left. And then it'll be just whatever it is that you wanted to like discuss or do for the con.
Yeah. What do you think, Ellie?
I'm game for whatever, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind like maybe doing half and half. Like we play part of the session and then
Post game
talk about archaeology that we encountered or something like that.
I know that I know that for the agenda, the lineup for this year, we have significantly less, maybe half or less the amount that we had last year. So we could just put it down like a 2 block. It doesn't have to be like longer than 2 hours. We could do 1 hour of D&D and 1 hour of post game, or 2 hours of D&D and 1 hour of post game. But we could put in 2 submissions kind of thing, and do a post game like this. But it would be really cool if like it wasn't like a one shot in a way, but something good for new viewers, because we've seen a lot of the dungeon, and there's a dinosaur behind us, and new viewers are just going to be like, what has this always been a thing? But like if we still do the dungeon, it might be nice if we like pick up on a new day that we went outside to sleep and then we re-enter or something. Like, there he is. Bam. We re-enter something like that, or if we do like a spin-off story that is not what we're going to jump back into the next time we play, but something special for the con, but just something good for new folks, because that was kind of like what it was like last year. Because yeah, I really wonder how much of our audience is going to have seen our game since last year.
Mhm.
Yeah, last year you were setting a butchery or butcher shop on fire, and now you're running around in a dungeon with a dinosaur. Like,
Yeah.
Last year, Anna wasn't even part of our party yet.
true.
I
Like,
was there in the chat the entire time. Well, I think half of it, but I was there.
um,
And then I was like, I want to be friends with these people.
a year
here
later.
you are now, a whole year later.
Yeah. Took long enough.
And I'm telling you, like, right, if you choose a grad school down here in SoCal, it doesn't have to be
I
SoCal.
know. I know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell you guys in Discord what I've been thinking with that, but probably not on something that's getting recorded because I don't want it getting out so
That's
much as I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing.
no,
Yeah.
your final decision is fine. It's fine by us. No pressure. Um, but at least for me, I was just like excited, like, oh, road trip.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and then we could do like D&D sessions in person and then put Michael on a tablet.
Or I was about to say you could actually use your dice. You could actually pull out your dice, right? You could actually
I
like.
know. Why did I buy 2 sets of that? You guys are the only ones I play with.
Because those are the rules. You have to own more than one set of dice.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like me,
yeah.
I'm super lame. I just have the dice that came in my little D&D starter kit that I went and bought. So I have just
Yeah.
like, I bought 2 different packs. I bought one like the starter kit, and then I bought like the extended player's guide type thing. And each one came with their own set of dice. So I have a set of just plain blue dice and a set of plain red dice.
Gotta send you some links for some cooler dice you can buy.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'm gonna log off on that note. All right. Here's to the future. Here's to the con. You know,
Fingers crossed.
yeah. Send me notes. Just tell me like, like if you want me to, let me think. Who's the name I could pull out? Um, if you want, I'll make a Heinrich Schliemann NPC that just like show up and you can like battle him out for the con, or whatever.
Or the Tats guy. The Tats guy. He could make an appearance at the con.
Wait, Tats guy?
Yeah, that goblin that's standing on another goblin with his big giant.
Oh, wait, no,
sword.
no.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Riot guy.
Oh wait, let me pull him up. Hold on.
He's topical, and I mean, I think people will get a kick out of us beating the crap out of him.
Oh man, but I already thought about it. He's not gonna fight fair. He's gonna cheat. He's gonna cheat like no tomorrow. Oh, he's
for 2
okay.
hours.
I have him in Discord, but I don't have him in Roll20 because he's like back in Clark. But yeah, give me a second. I can get it. I can get him. Just to make sure that
People would
everybody
have
knows.
a kick out of the tick monsters. Like an audience of all archaeologists. We gotta have the tick monsters at con.
So everybody can suffer.
Yeah, exactly. A shared suffering. Just a chat, an entire chat room of just like, oh god, the last time I had a tick on me. Oh god, I ran into a tick nest once. Blah 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 blah. That'd be great.
That sounds horrible.
Shared trauma.
I think I messed up. I found a bug in Roll20.
Oh no!
Oh,
What stats, like monster stats, did you copy over for the tick monster originally?
Oh, it's in Etten.
I see.
Okay, there it is. That's weird. And Etten is basically a Spider-Man. Not that kind of Spider-Man.
I mean, he's a biped, so the tick monster, and so is this guy, but oh, he's not standing on somebody. He's just got stilts.
Stilts. Right, and then the sword is so big that he himself can't hold it, so the other goblins
That's
hold it for
right.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. He could show up at cons. And then maybe a tick monster could eat him.
You're pushing this collaborative narrative thing very far.
He's like, okay, we're done.
I'll write all of it out to you and have it to you in email by tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, so you're the one that's gonna write me a sternly worded email. Okay.
At the end, Daintyfoot runs into the arms of Dagmar and jumps with a mighty oink, and then rubs his or her face all over Dagmar's face, and the two run off into the sunset together.
That's an ending. That's an ending. I'll agree. That's an ending. Thank you, everybody. It's out there in the multiverse. Okay, out in the multiverse, that's Dagmar and Daintyfoot. Somebody do fan art.
in the Goblin
Yes.
Town multiverse of madness.
Yeah. Oh God.
All right, everybody. I'll catch you later. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.